I'm with Luden Centeno from Jerusalem. Now, Luden, how did you come here to the land?
Well, that's a good question. I actually felt that it was something that was pulling me and bringing me to this nation back in 2002, 2003. I sensed that I was being called to the land of Israel.
And was it easy for you to actually come here to the land?
Easy. I think off radio I told you it was easy, but I came as a tourist, so I basically stayed 3 months. But I've never had a problem with immigration. They just never did, because I made it clear to them that I was a descendant of the Jews from Spain, and they never troubled me on that.
And you have a website at the moment talking about news. What sort of stuff do you put on your website?
Well, my main focus here in Israel is to expose terror, what's happening here on a daily basis, what the so-called wannabe Palestinians, as I call them, I came up with this term. And don't get me wrong, I'm not putting the Palestinians down. I know there's good Palestinians that love this nation, but will not come out publicly to talk about it because they might be targeted. But my main focus is to talk on terror, what happens here day in, day out. As you know, we are surrounded by many enemies. If you go to Hebron, you go to Tulkram, and right in Bethlehem, you know that Hamas is there, Al-Aqsa Martyrs Brigade, and Fatah, and many organizations that support and stand for terror against the nation of Israel.
Now, you said so-called Palestinians. Where does the term of the word Palestinian come from?
The term fake Palestinians, I say that because Yasser Arafat started 40 years ago stating that he was a descendant of the Philistines and the Canaanites. And I've read my history. I believe that the children of Israel did away with the Philistines back then. And he started using this term, but we have to go back to Hadrian. When Bar Kokhba had the uprising against the Romans, and the Romans actually killed over 20,000 Jews, and he wanted to punish the land Judah. Back then it was called Judah. And he said, you know what, I'm going to change the name from Judah to Mi Capitolina Palestina. So this is where this word so-called Palestinian or Palestine is coming from.
So Palestinian wasn't an identity, it was just a name.
Absolutely, they took this name, and they have been using it ever since. But let me be real here. The Palestinians, if they really want to call themselves Palestinians, first of all, they don't have a known language. Let's talk about that. We as Jews, we have our language, has been around for many years. They don't have any archaeological artifacts or anything that can connect them to the so-called Palestinians, as I call them. And no other Arab nation has any historical records of these so-called Palestinians. And you know, we have to really talk the truth.
Now, how many years have you been here in the land?
Well, as I told you, I got here October 30th, 2004. I started coming in and out. Presently, I've been here without leaving the country over 7 years. It's been like a time of preparation for me to go back out to the nations and start speaking on what I've learned so far.
So you've lived in the land, and obviously there's been lots of terrorist attacks while you've been here in the land. How would you cope with that, knowing that at any particular moment there could be a terrorist attack here in the land?
You know, that's something that I look forward every day, that when I get on this bus and when I get on the train, I try not to give my back. I mean, I cannot stop a bomb, but I can maybe stop a knife or a gun. I'm a former cop from America, and my sixth senses, when either I'm walking down the street or I'm on the bus, they kick in. Like I said, I won't stop a bomb, but possibly I can stop a knife or a gun. But yeah, it's not a nice way to live. That we just don't know where the next terror attack is going to come from. So this is just a part of a daily life, and I don't think it's normal, but this is just the way we live.
Do you have to be constantly alert?
All the time, even at work. I mean, I work with Arabs that are from Hebron, from Ramallah, from Bethlehem, and other parts of the country, and I just don't trust them because you never know when this so-called jihadi mind is going to erupt, and they might start attacking people.
We've just seen a terrorist attack yesterday in Europe, in Spain. Do you think Europe can learn something from Israel?
Our security here is one of the best in the world, and even though we have that fence dividing parts of Israel to the other side, and the Shin Bet and the IDF and many other agencies that are basically trying to infiltrate and penetrate and gather information. I think the biggest mistake Europe made was to open that window and let most of these terrorists that came to Europe claiming that they wanted a political asylum, and these people were never fettered. This word fettered is used in America a lot. I think people should be checked before they're allowed in the country. As for the terror attack yesterday, 13 were killed, over 100 injured. It's a sad day for Europe, and once this exodus is finished, there are going to be more terror attacks in Europe. I have to believe that because ISIS has a lot of sleeper cells in Europe, and the attacks will continue.
So you think that people should be checked as they come into Europe? Now, Donald Trump has tried to do that, hasn't he? He's wanted to check people coming in. Everyone calls it a Muslim ban, but it isn't really a Muslim ban. It's a wait for 90 days and see.
I think it's a good thing. I think people should be checked. Listen, I started speaking on terror, and I had the FBI knocking at my door. I was on one of my trips back to America, and I was staying in a friend's house, and I get a call from the FBI. We want to know who you are. I went and I met them. I had nothing to hide. I was exposing what I think to be true, the terrorists that want to wipe out the nation of Israel. So I think it's a good thing for people to be checked, to know who they are before they come into a country. As for Donald Trump, I think he did the right thing. There's a lot of sleeper cells in America who can explode at any moment. They're just waiting for the go-ahead. We saw what happened in 9/11. Where the Twin Towers went down. My niece was working in one of the towers in the post office, and thank God she got away. But I believe that security is very important, especially when it comes from countries in the Middle East that people want to migrate, and we need to find out who they are.
How can Israel deal with the lone wolf?
We just never know where they're going to come from. Even though we have fences and security, we saw what happened to the Solomon family up in Shomron in Samaria. He came and he jumped and went in and knocked at the door, and they opened the door, and he just started stabbing these people like on a Shabbat, which is a really sad story. How can we stop a lone wolf? I mean, we just never know.
Now, there's been a situation at the Temple Mount. What happened there at the Temple Mount?
Well, listen, what are the facts here? What is the Temple Mount? The first and second temple, were they there or not? I mean, historically, yes. But the claims are that the Arabs are claiming that there were never a first or second temple there. They have found so many archaeological artifacts right there on that area, and that even the stones are crying out, this is the land of the Jew, and the first and second temple were there. We as Jews cannot go up to the Temple Mount to pray. If they even think that we're trying to pray, we will get arrested or escorted out of the Temple Mount. I was escorted out one day. The Arabs tried to ambush me because I was telling them this is my Temple Mount. And thank God that the guard, the police was my friends. I knew them, and they just kind of told me to come back another day. But as we speak, at 12 o'clock, they're going to be ascending the Temple Mount, the Arabs, and look, they can pray to whatever God they want to. I'm okay with that. But when it comes to the security of my two children, especially Ronnie and Alon, then I have a problem. Just a few weeks ago, we saw when two Arabs went up to the Temple Mount on a Friday to pray, And what happened? They had automatic weapons. I don't know how they got up there, but someone brought them. Someone passed them on to them. After their prayer, what did they do? They went in and came down and killed 2 Druze police officers that were actually protecting them from any form of harassment or whatever. So we just never know what's going to happen over on the Temple Mount after their prayers. And I'm sure that the Israeli security is very tight there today as we speak.
Tell me a little bit about the soup kitchen you were talking about.
Yeah, we have a soup kitchen. It's ran by King of Kings, Chad Holland, and of course Wayne Hillsdale, whom I know. And I'm part of trying to raise awareness of people that are in need, and actually the soup kitchen is in need. We were open 3 times a week, and due to lack of funding, we have cut back to only on Wednesdays at 12 o'clock. And listen, we even serve Arabs, and we don't have a problem with that, because if we love the Messiah, I believe that will cover a multitude of sins, and whatever they believe in, whether they're Islams or they're Muslims or whatever, we just love on them, and by sitting with them at the soup kitchen and feeding them, we show them that we do care about them. So yeah, we have a soup kitchen, and we like for you, if you'd like to support us, you can contact my radio producer here.
You've talked a lot about Palestinians and Arabs and terrorism. What's your prayer for the Palestinian people?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. I what comes to me is the Shema. It says Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. It says, "Hear, O Israel," but here I'm going to include the entire Arabs, because Abraham had one son named Ishmael. And this is where we see the situation, Ishmael and Isaac, and we are brothers. We are brothers, and I don't have anything against them personally. I can sit and talk with them and eat with them and love on them. Actually, I have a good friend named Murad and his father from Bethlehem, which have invited me many times to go, and they will make a barbecue and cook for me, and I have not gone. I'm going to take that offer up. But, they are our brothers. And God made all men. And we are all created equal. It's just the belief that they have. And I'm not saying all of them. Don't get me wrong. But, we have to love them. And I need to work on that. But I'm getting there.
And what's your website address for people who'd like to know more about your news service?
Yeah, our website is newsfromjerusalem.info, and what I do is I gather information and I put it there so people can really see what's happening here in Israel, and especially Jerusalem. My heart is in Jerusalem, where my son and daughter were born. But the website is newsfromjerusalem.info.
Okay, Luden, thank you very much.
Well, thank you, and Shabbat Shalom to you, and I want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of my experiences.